So there is a saying that time is our greatest resource. However, with the seven biggest companies, they've found that the one currency that they're monetizing is attention. And that's become our newest resource that's become so scarce that it's hard to get back. But in this video, I want to help you get that back, your attention, so that way you can truly focus on things. I'm Wesley, an executive assistant and executive coach. And in this video, I want to help you develop that focus, train your attention span so well it feels weird to scroll again. My first tip is embracing boredom. So can any of us go to the toilet without bringing our phones anymore? It's pretty hard to imagine. I know I do it all the time. It's hard to not bring your phones to the toilet, sit down, and try to think about things. And I think the only place where we truly think is in the shower, and that's where we have those shower thoughts of all those creative things coming into our mind, is because there's nothing else to do. And we honestly need more of that to be able to think more, because our brains are being so bombarded with all these information that our brains just are not thinking. So however you think of Bill Gates, I still think of him as this technological genius. During his time in Microsoft as a CEO, he would go on retreats to have these think weeks and be lost in thought. And for me, I just came back from a fly fishing trip in Montana. I thought it was the greatest thing ever because I was able to unplug from my phone and focus on the thing in front of me, which was learning how to fly fish and catching a fish. I had no other thought on my mind outside of that one task, and it gave me so much peace. I didn't have to worry about my family calling me or friends calling me. I had the people in front of me at that time, and it helped me be present and gave me so much peace of not worrying about anything else. And that's a habit that we have to implement and practice in our lives, is this solitude of being able to unplug, go away, and focus on the thing that's in front of us. And we're slowly losing that. But by being able to focus, it helps us bring that peace in our mind. There are so many things drawing for our attention, but that's how we can bring our attention back, is by directing it into one singular thing and giving it our full attention and giving us that peace again. The next tip that I have in mind is to create a physical barrier. So what I mean by that is I no longer use my phone as an alarm clock. I use I use my Apple Watch. It's great because it doesn't make noise. The biggest thing about the phone is when I use it as an alarm clock, it's in my hand already, and I see all the notifications, and I'm trapped in my bed, looking through all the notifications, getting them out the way, and before you know it, 30 minutes has passed, and I just wasted my morning. So I stopped doing that. I use an Apple Watch. Back in college, I would use a physical alarm clock too. But Apple Watch is nice. It just like taps your wrist and I'm awake. So I think having a physical barrier, being able to place your phone outside your room when you're sleeping, or at least for me, like my table is pretty far away from my bed and I'm not going to reach for it because it's too far away for me to reach. It's a physical barrier. During certain social events, I would actually place my phone in the center console of my car and just leave it there because I'm not going to need it. I want to be able to be present with the people in front of me. And for these social events, I found I've never had to use my phone. If there were truly an emergency, I can go out to my car, grab my phone, and then answer it. But in the meantime, creating that physical barrier has helped me be present with the people in front of me and will help you get that presence and attention that you crave. And the third tip that I have is to read and write more. So I started journaling recently. It was by reading Marcus Aurelius's Meditations that I've actually really learned how to journal. Back in college, I would journal. It was more like a diary. I would share things about what I was doing and how I felt that day. And it didn't really give me much value looking back at it. I was like, oh, I guess I had a long day of class and was feeling bored, and that was that. But journaling, it helped me understand that I was writing to my future self, giving myself advice and tips on how to move forward. It's kind of crazy thinking in the past that I'm writing to my future self, to think about the future. And whenever I'm writing, it helps me clear my mind. It clears my thoughts, and it's such a great tool to help you empty out your mind and focus on the one thing that's in front of you. And I think journaling too, that you need a pen and paper. It's so hard with the digital age, the screens, there's so many notifications popping up that it's so tempting to switch over. That's why I think pen and paper is so valuable, is because you're training your mind to singular focus. And with singular focus, you're able to do so much more work and accomplish so many things. And on top of journaling, reading is so valuable as well. Reading books has been so valuable for my mental health because it just feels like eating a healthy salad rather than a fatty burger. Like when you're doom scrolling through TikTok, it just feels like the worst feeling in the world because you're trapped. It's brain rot. The name itself is so explanatory that there's no other feeling. But reading, it feels like you're having a conversation with someone. Your brain is creating worlds that you never thought could have been created. And it's this healthy form of information that I have. Like, I was on the plane, sitting towards the front of the plane, and this lady asked me, like, what book I'm reading. And it was The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I said, oh, it's a business book. She's like, oh, I'm reading for fun. I'm reading this murder mystery. And I tell her, like, well, this is fun for me. I actually really like learning about business. And all of us have different palates and tastes. You just have to find it. And you just have to try finding the different books that you like and learn for yourself what you enjoy digesting. And for me, it tends to be nonfiction. I love learning things, and it's the act of learning as well. Some people, they like audiobooks, and I found for me personally, that doesn't work out too well because when I'm driving, I'm usually listening to something when I'm driving, whether it's a podcast or audiobook. But with audiobooks, it's very difficult for me to pay attention to what's being said, is because the first thing that I'm doing is driving. My focus is on making sure I'm being safe on the road and that there are other safe drivers around me. So I'm not really paying attention to the words from the audiobook. But when I read a physical book, it's a lot more active for me because that's my primary focus. So some people, they can't read a physical book, and they learn auditorily, and that's okay. For some reason, for podcasts, I listen to them fine when I'm driving, and my full attention isn't on them, but I think it's because I'm a fly on the wall. I get to keep what sticks, and I love it. So reading and writing has been so great for me to be able to get my attention span back, and it's something I recommend for you as well. And the last tip that I have is silence. We live in such a noisy world. I'm in the city, and actually going back to that retreat, it was so nice to be out in nature and not hearing all the city noise. There were just like crickets, just wind blowing. It was so quiet and so peaceful and so nice. Not all of us have the luxury to go out into the wilderness like that, to a nice lodge, and find that peace. But one of the places that I spend the most time in is in my car. I commute about 40 minutes a day, one way to work and back. And after a long day of work, one way I decompress is by sitting in silence. I think sitting in silence is a great way to decompress because there's so much noise going on that you can hardly even hear yourself think. And I think that's important, is communicating with ourselves to see how we're doing, listen to how we're doing, so that way we can respond to what our body needs. And I know after a long day of work, I'll just shut off all the music, just drive solo, and let my mind loose. And I remember Dr. K, Healthy Gamer, he went on Chris Williamson's podcast, and he talks about if you have a racing mind, it's one way to slow it down is by letting it just run around. It's like you see a kid at the playground. How do you tell him to stop running? You actually tell him to play more. Eventually, he'll get tired and wear himself down. And same thing with our racing mind is we just let it run around, play around, and get tired. So in those 40 minutes, I'm letting it run around. And I think that's okay, is because my mind is not spending that time thinking. So solitude and silence often go hand in hand. And in this noisy world, we often don't have time to do that. And one way I do that is just in my car on my daily commute. And those are my 4 tips to help you get your attention span back. Solitude, silence, creating physical barrier, and reading and writing. So thank you so much for listening. And if you're interested in taking these applications and applying it to your own life, you can click down below to apply for my coaching program and see if you're a great fit. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.